Yeah, welcome to class, church and worship. And it's been a long time to see all of you in class. So I was looking forward to seeing you guys in class. But I don't know how many people are registered this class. But I'm really happy to see some of you guys in the class. Maybe before you took to my class, you guys know who I am, but let me introduce myself briefly, right? And my name is Christian Wee, and I came from Korea about 27 years ago, and I went back to school and studied psychology in college, and at that time, I was really interested in counseling, Christian counseling. So I tried to get into the program, but I didn't have any classes or applying for the program. So because I studied philosophy in Korea, so I studied undergraduate here again, and then finished the psychology in 3 years. It was really tough. After that, God called me back to the ministry, and then I went to Biola, study more and to prepare more for the future ministry, but it didn't work very well. And then still, I don't know, studying is not my thing, but still, God opened the door for me to study more, and then I studied intercultural studies at Biola, and then I got a degree about 2 years ago. So that's my research was studying about the second generations. So it was really interesting. I want to continue to study about second generation and third generation, but I don't know how it goes. That's my academic background, and my ministry background is I had my own ministry, so I don't do the church ministry, but I really focus on the missions, cross-cultural missions, and I train the families and then take them family to the mission field, and so the family could work together at missions. So in missions, so that's one of my ministries. So for last 10 years, more than 10 years, I took the family to the Mexicos and then different part of Mexico. The Tijuana in every month, like before the pandemic, and then every summer I took the family to the Guadalajara. It's the second largest city in Mexico, and Michoacan, another state. Yeah, it was really meaningful, and it's a good experience for the families. And then at the end of about 2 years ago, and I created a non-profit organization. So I cannot go out all the time, and sometimes, but I'm really interested in supporting the local supporting the local leadership. So even though I'm here, and then think about how can we raise the local leaders. So and I look back how have gotten involved in missions, and then I got an idea with some people that who work with me for missions, and then we created a non-profit organization called Love to Hope. So we select the students who have kind of ability to serve and to lead local community and church, and then but they don't have enough finance for the study, and then we really select the people, and then we support them to continue to study and to equip themselves for the future. So nowadays, one we are supporting in Indonesia, and then almost 3 years. He left 2 more classes, and then he's gonna graduate. And he's seminary school, and then another 2 kids in Mexico. They in Michoacan. They are the pastor's kids, and then I know that's the kind of Indian. They live in Indian village, but still there's no problem for their daily living. But when they go to school, they don't have money to pay like the tuition stuff, and that's why we are supporting. And this year, we kind of selected 4 students from Indonesia. So they are in seminary and college now. It's kind of it's not a seminary school after undergraduate, but they put together. And so it's really exciting to see them. And maybe starting from this semester, and then let's see how it goes. That's another issue that I got involved in missions. So I went down to China I'm going down to China every month. I have a team, so we go down and go down to local church, and we work together for children's ministry. And once a month on Saturday. Usually we go down the 4th week of the month. And recently, from last semester, I got started with the local pastors in Tijuana. So my friend missionary is missionary in Tijuana, and then he opens to re-educate the local pastors. Some of them don't have any theological background and other stuff, and then that's why we try to help them. So I'm teaching at those seminaries. So that's once a month. I going down is Monday to Wednesday. So Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning. But now is I'm teaching, and then now is they are on vacation. So the seminary resumes on September, October. September right there. So there's my background of ministry. And if you are interested in missions, and then if you want to go down and see, maybe if you can able to go down, and you can come with me, and then maybe even though you guys want to go down, but sometimes the all legal status doesn't allow you to go down, but it's okay. So if you are interested, and then just let me know, and I can give you more information about that. And I have 2 daughters, and one is in graduate school. Now she started 4th year, and then another daughter, my older daughter, she finished the master's, and then she's working. Now she's at home, and she has a consulting job, and then if she carries her computer, so she can go everywhere. If she doesn't have any call to come to the office, and that's a good job, but it's really, really hard. And then she started working at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then just think about every morning she got up around 5 o'clock, and she has presentation this morning, and then she got up at 5 o'clock and preparing and started a meeting at 6 o'clock here. And that's a time in the East Coast time, because she lives in Boston, but she's working there, and at the same time, and she's applying for another graduate program, and she's waiting for the result. And another my younger daughter, and she is in Phoenix, and then she wants to come back to celebrate my birthday coming. But she couldn't, she cannot, because of the whole work. And then I think that she had kind of, she's studying medicine, and then she's studying medicine, and then she has on call yesterday, and then it means that she she goes to the hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning and she stayed the whole day and through the night, and then maybe it's a time to coming back home. So yeah, and she's really interested in surgery, and that's why she's willing to learn about surgery. And so here and there, she's really busy. And yeah, that's my background. And if you do you have any question about me? No. So if you have any question about me, and just email me, I can answer to you guys. And okay, let's turn the table to you guys, and then I hope that you guys introduce yourself to me. I know some of them raised for this class but didn't show up, but still you have a chance to introduce yourself through email, or maybe you can come to the class next time and you can introduce yourself. Okay, so I have some people in the class, and then let me hear about their introductions. Can you introduce yourself? It's okay. Name and what is your interested, and where are you from, and what are you doing, and whatever you have in your mind.
My name is Hyun Jung.
Hyun Jung.
I'm from Korea. I came to here 6 years ago.
Okay, 6 years ago.
I live in Urban.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living with my daughter. Yes.
She is in college?
Yeah, she is college. She's major film media.
Also, film media. It's okay.
So another person.
Your niece or nephew?
Yeah, his nephew.
Nephew. Nephew's with you.
Yeah, with grade 7 and 7th.
She is in sixth grade.
He is 7th.
She's in 6th grade. Yeah. He is in 7th grade. Okay. In junior high school.
Next is 8th grade.
Okay.
Next time.
So,
I can't fluent English. It's very difficult.
okay, I can understand you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Okay, nice to meet you too. I'm so glad to have you in this class, and then I hope that many students are coming to class and we can see each other and talk about what we are interested in this class, and then maybe we can have a lot of questions, and maybe maybe you can agree with me and then you cannot agree with me, whatever, but I want to see your face, I want to talk to you. Anyway, I'm really glad to see you in class, and I hope that the class kind of helps you understand about church and then about worship. So we try to study about not the focus on the church, but we can talk about mostly worship. And here is a course description. So this course will explore a journey to understanding worship in the Christian community. So maybe if you go to church and here and there, they have their own worship styles, right? If you go to Presbyterian church, it's very popular in Korea, and then they follow their orders of worship, right? And presider has to come in and call to worship, and everybody stand and quiets back, and then they start like that. And then nowadays, and then you can go to other like American church or other churches really freestyles, and then just worship leader coming out and then welcome you guys on this Sunday, welcome to church, and blah blah blah, and then praise team start the music, and then after praise the music, and then preacher coming out, and there's no prayer in the meantime, and then preacher coming out and preach an announcement like this. There's a lot of different worship styles. So if you are really goes to Presbyterian church and they don't do speaking in tongues, and when they pray and then they don't speak in tongues. But if you go to Pentecostal church and then it's really loud, and then you can see a lot of different right, and they pray loud in speaking in tongues. So here and there, and different worship styles are still practiced in the churches. And then, so regardless of the church worship styles, and then we can discourse will take to understand the heart of worship. What is the heart of worship? It's based on the Bible. And we cannot say your worship style is right and your worship style is wrong. But whether form is, even though form is different, and then how can we say that your worship is really good? Because it's based on the Bible, and because the worship helps the congregation to give their heart. And then, so we can see the the worships in the based on the Bible, biblical background, and based on the cultural background. Because when we study about the history of worship, we can see how the worships evolved in the context of the culture. And then, like early churches, like the first centuries, and Jesus Christ died, and Christianity started, and then they were in a church like nowadays. And there was a house church, we call it house church, and they get together at someone's house, and apostles there, and then they have a fellowship, and they learn from apostles, and they learn about Jesus Christ, and they pray together. Like it's not like today's worship style, but still there. And when second century and third century, and church are really established and institutionalized, and then there's a hierarchy, the order is there. And then if you go to Middle Ages, and you can see how is the church like. And also reformers came out, and this is not based on the Bible, so they kind of against their faith and the theology, and then they developed as a theology based on the Bible, and that's the reformations. So cultural context and the biblical context is really, really important to understand the worship. So maybe depends on the theology, and then kind of leads the pastors and congregation to take the different worship styles, right? But this course guides the fundamental element of worship, what is worship. It's not, we're not gonna talk about in detail, but it's a big frame of worship. And then provide essential information to how can you plan the worship and how can we lead worship. So After that, okay, welcome. Yeah, we can have a, we're gonna have time to how can we plan and the worship and how can we have a scenario how can lead the worship. So that is the basic description of the discourse, and then basically we're gonna learn about what is worship. But sometimes it's too much here. We are not gonna go deep to discuss about a lot of issues, but we're gonna talk about basic stuff, right? And this is a basic course is designed, will be taught by me. And here is course object and student outcome, and just let me read it. The student will understand the basic theological foundations and historical elements to plan and lead cooperate worship service in the local church. So worship is not a kind of individual, but when we talk about worship here and then cooperate together with the others, right? So we are talking about that one. So it provides a basic understanding. Students will be equipped with knowledge and skills in planning biblical ground and culturally connected worship service. And students will learn other resources such as planning tools and online resources that may help to plan and facilitate corporate worship. That's the kind of basic objectives and outcome that I expect in this from the class. There is a basic required readings, and then maybe my lecture is based on these books, and sometimes I just copy and then present to you guys. I'm not gonna rewrite, and then usually summarize and copies and from these books, and then I have another book. So, and this is if you are interested more, and this one is a special service worship, not the Sunday worship. And then if you are interested, and then you can read, and then this one is a little bit different, but gives you some understanding of the worship. So, yes, maybe, yeah. This is a class schedule, and start today and end September 1st, Friday. So that basically basic content for the class, and then maybe we can change it a little, depends on what we are interested in. This is a schedule that I picked, but if you want to discuss different topics, and then I'll really need to change and discuss in this class. And so basically today is kind of we're gonna talk about what is a church, what is a worship. It's a basic understanding providing the foundation of worship based on the textbook. And I like history, so we can talk about the brief history of worship and the book, the textbook kind of lead us and divide the worship orders kind of 4 sections, 4 stages. One is a gathering stage, and then was a word and sermon stage, and the response stage, and then ending stage. So we're gonna follow the order, and then he's talking about the prayer in worship and the music in worship. So nowadays the book assigns a lot of pages on music part. So sometimes I know basic theories, but it's too much because I'm not a musician. So, but we are not gonna go details, but we're gonna go over basic stuff. And that is a basic topic that we're gonna deals in this class. All right. So before we jump into the class, and then, so can you introduce yourself? It's okay.
My name is Jaehyun.
What is that?
Jaehyun.
Jaehyun?
And I'm a student in Lordlandcolli지.
Uh-huh.
30 years old.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
So, do you have any interest in, so when did you come to America?
Well, it was like 8 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, for study.
Okay, so what is your interesting area in studies?
In this class or
No, generally.
in general? Became a witch. Was.
Okay, you wanna be successful, alright.
I want to live the success in my life.
Uh-huh. So are you interested in business, or are you interested in other stuff, or?
Why interesting several things like business, investing, something that made me rich.
Maybe helps you to be rich, okay? Alright, so how can I help you guys to kind of to get your interest in this class? Maybe the topic is not related to your interest, but
For the personal purpose.
so both of you guys are going to church? No?
No,
No, you're not Christian?
not really.
How about you?
I'm
Okay, you go to church. You don't go to church?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it will really fall into you, this lecture, but if you have any questions, and then just let me know.
Okay.
And if you have any kind of thought about church and worship, then just let me know.
Mhm.
You know, I'm willing to kind of discuss with the matters in this class, and then maybe I'm not gonna persuade you to become a Christian, but maybe I have a lot of issue with the churches, you know, as well. So sometimes my daughter said that you are so too critical, and then I know, well, you guys are critical too, and then where did we get? It's from you, they said, and then anyway, so being critical is not bad, but we can kind of evaluate what we are doing, and then we can check ourselves, and then we can check what we are doing. So this topic is a church and worship, and so we are really focused on the worship, not the church. But whether you have kind of question related to churches and then worships, and then you can bring it up right in the class, so we can discuss. And so maybe you pay for this class, and then maybe I can give you a lot of questions, so you can practice English. I know it's not easy to learn English, but still, if you wanna live here and then maybe some reason, and you better learn. So when I came here around 27 years ago, and then I was really frustrated, and then I tried to say something. Before I go to market, I just prepare what I'm saying, and then I speak in English, but they say what? So I speak again. So what? So what? And the kind of and really feel down and bad, and then never mind, it's okay. And then I try to find like that, and then there's a lot of good people out there, but there's not kind of people out there too, right? Either. So, and sometimes, and my friend at the time we came to America at the same time, and then she's from Brazil, and then she speaks the Portuguese, and then she translated the word to word, and then they said at that time we used a tape. Do you know tape? CD, not tape. The tape is like a cassette, and then film is there, and we record, and then we use that one. And then she went to the market, and she said, "Yeah, I want the virgin tapes." So and what is a virgin tape? And then she said, they said it in Portuguese, and then when they go to market, and I think they express that way. But in America, there's no word, and then they say, "Oh, there's a blank tape, blank like this," and then there's a cultural difference, and then word difference, and then it's a lot of struggling out there. So one of my another friend at church, and she cannot understand the English very well, but she's working in the Korean company, and then she ordered like a fast food restaurant, and then they asked to go or it's a to go in dining, and they said to go, and then usually they don't ask dining, and to go in here, and then she said it's a to go, it's a to go, meaning that maybe you couldn't bring the two. She said one go. That's happening though. That's happening, and then, but still, even though we don't speak English very well, we can survive. We survived, and still life is rolling. So. Okay, what do you think? So, what do you think the church is? What is a church? Any idea? What is a church?
The place to serve the God.
The place to serve God. Good answer. What about you? Church. Easiest way, we are not going to go kind of see that what's Greek letters or word, but still think about churches that they said that they claim that they are followers of Jesus Christ, and they believe in Jesus Christ, right? And then the people kind of self-claim that I'm follower of Jesus Christ, I accept the Christian faith, and then they go to church. Right? That's why, and one of the kind of definition is about the community of all true believers for all times. The church, all times, not a certain period. Meaning in the past, in the present, or the future. Right? Who believes and who has true beliefs, and then the people can consist of one of communities. Right? That's a church. And so here is all true believers. Do you think that, and they claim that, oh, I'm Christian, and then they are true Christian? What do you think?
What's the question?
And people who claim that I'm Christian, and then they have a real kind of a true faith, at church? Do you think?
Yeah. Well, depends on how they believe strong or not.
Okay. And what about we had another term, so nominal Christian.
nominate Christian.
Nominal.
Nominal.
Yeah. It says that they come to church every Sunday and they involved in the church ministry and they're really active at church. Except the one.
They're really active in the church.
Except the one.
Except one for what?
They don't believe in Jesus Christ.
Then
What do you think?
then all doing that person action is all fake. You mean that?
Not fake, and then that's why I'm asking. Everybody is a true Christian at church.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And mean that there is the true Christians there and there is a false Christians there.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it means that we couldn't go further and then there's a true churches there and there's a false churches there, right? It's too much?
Yeah, kind of. Some churches believe some different things, or some they believe something wrong interpret or
Maybe, yeah, I don't know how long is this year or so was the documentary I'm a God in YouTube.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Did you saw it? What do you think about it?
JMS something.
What do you think about the documentary?
Wow. I only saw the episode 1 to 3 and then just shut it down because it feels so disgusting. And then,
What do you think is that they, based on your watching, is that there's a true church or false church?
well, technically false.
Yeah, so there's a false churches there and there's a true churches there from the since China is born.
Yeah.
And then there is a basic doctrines who there's a doctrine there who believe in Jesus Christ, right? But some people they don't agree with the traditional or orthodox doctrines and they have their own created their own understanding and disseminate the doctrine to the others.
They
right?
translate as their thought.
Yeah, and like JMS, I was in Korea and then there's one of the really popular, there's a sect. And there was a headquarters next to the Seoul University. It's a Bongcheon-do. Do you know the Bongcheon-do?
Yeah.
And that was around there. So one of my classmates already got kind of became a JMS. And then I didn't know that one of my 선배 is kind of was a senior, junior, and then he already got involved in their organizations, and then he got to become a JMS. Yeah. Anyway, so we assume that church community should be was all true Christians, followers of Jesus Christ of all time, in the past, in the present, and for the future. That's a church. So it means that already people believe in Jesus Christ like the first centuries and already past, right? They are part of the church community. And then now, so I'm going to church and I'm still Christian. I claim that, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, and then I'm the church. I'm a church, and then maybe my next generation, my grandchildren, and they said, "Oh, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ," and they want to be church, right? But there's a true churches there and false churches there. Depends on what they believe. And here is the Wayne Grudem, and Grudem is he gives some basic idea about factors of what is a true church, what is a false church. And here is some factors that to check this if this is a true church, and then maybe we can see this kind of elements, factors, and then biblical doctrines, and then a lot of people anti-Smith, and then a lot of people, even though they go to church and they believe that Jesus Christ is a sinner. This is not an orthodox doctrine that Christian believes. We believe that Jesus Christ was sinless, he's a human, and he's God. But nowadays people say, yeah, Jesus Christ is a human being, and then he sinned like us. They claim that they are Christians. It's not grounded on the Bible. So true church is biblical doctrines and proper use of sacrament like communion and the baptism like this. And then if you go to Catholic church, it's a sacrament is there, it is special, but usually for Christians, and then two sacraments we practice. There's baptism and communion. So baptism is after they believe Jesus Christ, accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior, as what Bible taught and teaches, and then they proclaimed or pronounced in front of people, I'm become a follower of Jesus Christ, openly. That's one of the function of baptism. Was the right use of the church discipline, and then genuine worship. We're going to talk about what is a genuine worship, what is a false worship, and then effective prayers. So maybe some churches are really focus on prayer, like Korean churches, morning prayer and Friday prayer, and then right. But we don't know what do you mean there, and effective witness. Try to share the gospel with other people, other community, and domestically and cross-culturally. And effective fellowship, like presented based on the Bible and presented in the Bible, and then biblical church government. And nowadays there's a lot of secular influence of the secularizations. And if you go to church and they run the church like hideous, but it's not we don't say that it's not biblical, right? And what it talks about, what about the spiritual power in ministry? And then we cannot see it, but we believe that the Holy Spirit, and then through us, and sometimes use us and then do something. And that is a spiritual power in ministry, and then the work of the Holy Spirit, and then the personal holiness of life among members. There's big issues, right? And try to pursue the godly life. And care for the poor. It's not to give the piece of what I have, but really with the care, so with the love, and how can we share what we have with others, and then love for Christ. And maybe there's more kind of factors, but I got the factors from Wayne Grudem's books, and then that is a kind of shows that this is true church. If they don't have like this, and then we only talk about the sect, and then we cannot say that they are true church. And what about church? What about visible? Do you think that the church is visible or invisible?
Church is visible.
Visible. Why?
You can see visually on some place or building.
That's usually people understand that way. But when we talk about, just think about in the past, in the present, for the future, in the future, and for the future, and then, so there is a community there. Then some of them cannot see it, but still we can see it. Right? Not in terms of the physicality, but still we are talking about spiritually. And then just think about you and me, we are not related. But maybe you don't go to church, you don't believe you are Jesus Christ, and you are not related, religious any, right? But we say that you come to church and you believe Jesus Christ, and I come to church and I believe Jesus Christ, and then even though we go to different church, we assume that we are the brothers, right? That to me is the spiritual meaning, not that literally, but we cannot see the church that was original, but still visible. And there is a kind of similar concept of the local church and universal church. And local church, the online better church, right? That's a local church. You say buildings and pastors there, and a lot of people get together, and then there's a local church. What about universal church? So we cannot see the church. But I would say that who is the head of the church? Jesus Christ. God, Jesus Christ, and we are the body of the church. But think about not just in better churches, not just my cycles, your neighbors' churches, but still all over the world. How many Christians? About 1/3 of the population of the world populations, and then 1/3 of what they claim that they are Christians. But who are the head? Jesus Christ, and the rest of them is the body of the church. And that's the universal church. We cannot see it, but still we are church. So usually people are talking about the local churches. And when I was in college, and then I know it's a really famous leaders, Christian leader in Japan, and Uchimura Kanjo, and then he said, we don't need a local church. So he really emphasized the universal church, because local church kind of doesn't local church doesn't do their job they're supposed to do. And that's why he ignored the local churches, and then he really emphasized the universal churches. Anyway, so basic the definition of the church, and then visible, and then invisible, and local church and universal churches. You can get the definition, basic definition, right? And what is the purpose of the church? You already said one. Serving God.
Yeah.
Serving God. How?
I don't know exactly how to do it. I'm not Christian.
Serving God is worshiping God. And they get together and they have all the how can we worship God, and then that's a belief that, and they are honoring God and respecting God, and we call another word glorifying God. That is worship. Through praises and through kind of offerings and through the listening to His word, and that is we say that is the worship. And then another purpose is so church is one of the main purposes to minister to God, just worship. That's why we're talking about worship. And then another purpose is to minister to believers. It means that how to do our Christians, and who has a weak faith, and then help them to grow in faith. And through a lot of programs, activities, sometimes, and get a lot of programs there, and then they try to help them to grow in Christ. That's a nurturing Christian, other Christians. That's one of the functions there. That's why churches provide a lot of programs. Bible study program and small group programs, and right? And sometimes they have a short mission trip, and sometimes they visiting other place to help, like this. And then another one is the function is the ministry to the world. What does it mean there? They share the gospel with others who don't know Jesus Christ. That is one of the jobs they should do. And another thing is that they have to care for the poor, and they should care for the powerless, like a widow and fatherless in the biblical times, Old Testament period time, right? Period. And then that is a really big things. So it's really ideal, but it's from the Bible. It's from the Bible. So, and I know a lot of people nowadays, and they are really skeptical of the church because they don't do what they're supposed to do, like worshiping God and nurturing other Christians, and then also trying to share the gospel with others and care about the people who don't have a power and who don't have much. And but that's a really important thing is that how can we balance each other? One of the three, all of this. Maybe some churches really focus on the evangelism. Here is one church is there, and they spend about 56% of the budget. They spend for the missions. Spend on missions, and then some churches really create a lot of programs, and then they really act at church, but they don't have it so much. Some church has gathering only Sunday, gather like thousands of people gather together, but after service, nothing. So how can we balance out with the three of these purposes? And that's why, and it's a lot of people, even though I'm a pastor, sometimes I'm really skeptical of churches because I just am asking, they are doing right. It means that sometimes I don't agree with what they do, right? Anyway, there's a church, we should know. And there's a basic concept of the church, and what is the purpose of the church, and what is the church like. And then what is the worship then? What is the worship? And just think about Christians get together on Sunday. It's historically Christian practice that way. That's why people get together to accomplish one of the church's purpose, worshiping God, right? So worship meaning that the activities of glorifying God in His presence with our voices and hearts. It's really very abstract. And activity means that we do something. And glorifying God is God. How can you glorify God? It's sometimes people really say that. Jae-hyun, how can you be glorified by others?
How can I glorify others?
By others.
What kind of others?
Any other peoples. Other peoples.
Help them?
Just think about it, and if you are glorified, meaning that you are honored, right? You are respected by them. But why?
because I gave something.
So you helped others because you did good things, right?
Yeah, or spiritually, or give some money, or became a necessary people because they respect me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That glorifying God means that God's word should be known to people, others, right? Glorifying God is not a kind of abstract idea, but people let them know what God has done from the Bible, from their life, in their life, right? And people listen, people read, and they wow, God is there. And then respect and honor. That's glorifying God. So without introducing God, and you cannot glorify God. That's my perspective. It's an easy way, right? That is the activity of glorifying God in His presence. We assume that God is there. God is everywhere, not just in the church, local churches. Even here. And with our voices, that's what people are singing, and with music, and the what? Heart. Give your heart. That's worship. And that's why people come together and singing, and then they listen to God, and what? They kind of give to, as an offering, give to God, right? And that shows their heart. That's a worship. That's a worship. And just remember that the activity of glorifying God in His presence with our voices and heart, that's the worship, right? That's one of the purposes that churches should do for God. So this one is maybe for these activities, and then we already talked about they use the Bibles and praises, and they have preachings, and then they have a sacrament, and sometimes communion. And communion is what is that? And Jesus Christ died on the cross, right? Before He's died, and then what? And He had the Last Supper with His disciples, and then He broke the bread, and this is symbolizing my bodies, and remember. And then He get a cup, and then this is my blood, died for you guys. And then just to remember Jesus Christ's sufferings and death. That's the Lord's Supper. And then as a communion, we practicing is one of the sacrament, kind of we practice at churches, and then we remember what God has done. Even though it was happened in 2,000 years ago, and then we think about what Jesus Christ died and risen, and He's sitting at the right hand side of God. We believe in the Bible because it's the Bible said so. And then He's gonna coming back someday. I don't know when. And that is so. And we remember what Jesus Christ has done. That's why we do the communion. kind of 성찬식, we call it 성찬식, and remember. There's all kind of activity we do. And here's what Paul said kind of his recommendation to Colossians, and then let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, and teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, and singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your heart to God. Kind of describing these kind of his recommendations related to the worship, related to your Christian life. What is that one? The word of God. Christ dwells you in richly, teaching, admonishing, and how we have to follow, and recommend and do, and singing songs with songs there in the Bible, and then hymns by the kind of confession, but that delivers the basic doctrines of a faith. And then spiritual songs nowadays, like contemporary songs, people experience and confession, how they experience God, and then with the thankfulness in your heart. That is kind of a first kind of recommendation to the Colossians, or follow and serve and Jesus Christ like this. And that is basically shows that what is the worship like, and what elements are in the worship on Sundays. And we talk about the true and false, right? What is the result of genuine, true worship? It's a lot of mosquitoes inside. What do you think? Okay, you are observer, right? You're not a Christian, you don't go to church, and then what do you think that? Oh, you are Christian and go to church on Sunday, and what is the supposed to be the outcome of the worship? What do you think? No idea. What do you think? What is the result of the genuine and true worship? And I got the idea from the Wayne Grudem. Says he is a very famous theologian. He wrote the systematic theology, and I like his book because it's very simple and deal with a basic idea, but it gives a lot of thought. I like his book. And then if you have really good, we said today worship is really good. I don't know, maybe emotionally you are really moved. Sometimes maybe you are struggling with some problem, but get some insight from the today worship. Maybe music was really good. You kind of communicate in music, why praise team, leading the songs, and then maybe pastors, someone is really logical, and whatever. So we say, when you come out, and then Korean said it, in Korea said, today's summer was really good, right? Today worship was really good, and then maybe there is a pastor, was a worship pastor, and then today praise was really good, and then you gotta kind of bow and shake hands, right? When you come out. That is. But if you have really genuine kind of worshiping, and the worshipers who come to church and worship and delight in God, we have joy in our hearts because of worship, right? That's one of the things that we have. Sometimes we are doubting about God because I'm going through a lot of troubles and hardships, and God is living, God is there. I believe God, why me? We have a lot of questions like that, but still, you during the week, and then you have a why me, and then but when you come to church and when you worship, I know it might be a kind of moment, but still you have a conviction that God lives, and then you have a joy in your heart, even though your situation is not changed, right? That's what genuine worship is. And then what about others? And then God delights in worshipers. It's kind of reciprocal, mutual, and we cannot see. And that's our based on the Bible, and they have worshiped God, and God's really happy with the worshipers. We cannot see it, but we believe. That's a faith, right? And another thing is the worshiper drawing near to God. And even though we don't know, but still feel like go closer and closer to God. Meaning that our attention is more than before, and then try to listen to God and try to communicate with God. Just think about, and maybe usually a lot of Christians try to read the Bible every day. They are busy because of work and families, and a lot of stuff is going on, right? And then there's no time. But one of the signs that how can we close to God? It's not abstract. We believe that the Bible is God's word, and then we make time and read the Bible and try to listen to it, try to learn from God. That's a kind of one of the signs that we make time, we make a space, and then try to spend time with God. Whether Bible study, Bible reading, and kind of personal devotion, and like this, in prayer, any. That is the result of the true worship. And remember what God said, right? And then, if you go closer to God, and then God is what? Closer to us. And another thing is that genuine worship, the result of the genuine worship, God ministers to us. It means that God is working inside us, right? And sometimes if you have some problems and God, when you read the Bible and get some insight, and you have inner conviction. So, how can I question that? How can know that God is telling how can know that God is telling us something? How do you know? A lot of people say that I heard God's voice, and a lot of people say that God told me. I don't say it that way, and I usually say that maybe I had inner convictions, meaning that I read the Bible, I try to seek an answer with God, and then I read the Bible, and over, and sometimes I pray, whatever, and then in certain times, I have conviction in my heart. Even though there is no visible voice, there is no any other things. I believe that God is working. So, God ministers mean that sometimes God comforts us, help us to remember God's promises. And that is genuine worship. So, when you come to church, you're really frustrated and disappointed, but through the worship, and then you praise God, and then listen to God's word, and when you go out church, and then your heart is much lighter, and then you have faith. God is with me, and God is doing something in my life. That's we say that God ministers to us. And then sometimes we believe that here, unbelievers like you and knows they are in the God's presence. People should know that. And one thing that I really don't like is that to hear this kind of word, I don't wanna go to church because of you. It's a very bad influence, right? If you have a really true and genuine worship, and people who don't know God and who don't believe in God, and they're really interested, curious about you, and then, wow, really? And kind of reaction suppose comes to the believers. There is a true worship and genuine worship. But people say that I heard a lot from my wife, and she working with other people, and then some people always bring the Bible in the working place. I don't know why they bring the Bible to the working place, and then sometimes talk about Bible and try to persuade the people with the Bibles, but her working ethic is really bad. She doesn't do her work. What's the impression about? I don't want to become a Christian if you are a Christian, because you don't work, but I have to work for you, right? That's bad. There's a lot of things. That's why I want just to check the rise of the outcomes and results of the true worship. Maybe more than this, but still there is. Okay, so have you gone to any Christian worship, Jahan?
Yeah, I do.
Or when was the last time? What kind of worship did you experience there?
Sunday was worship.
Huh?
Sunday worship.
Sunday. So which church? Is a Presbyterian church? Maybe you don't know.
I don't know that what specific church, but same like that. So
How was the worship like? How they started and how they finished?
9 to 11:30 something.
How they started? Can you describe the worship that you experienced?
Just some singing a song, and then everybody just shares up for the prayer stuff, and then say something 1 or 1.5 hour, and then sing again. That's it. That's my experience there.
How do you say about your feeling after the experience in the worship?
Just kind of ceremony.
Okay, what about ceremony and
No
worship?
good, no bad.
Okay. What about Hyolun? So what you don't have to say about which church you are attending, which church you go, and but can you tell me your experience the worship in your church? How they start and how they finish?
Sunday worship.
Mm-hmm.
You say it's urban 배들교회.
Yeah, they just met.
배들처치. Morning 9,
Uh-huh.
1.5 is worship
Uh-huh.
time. It's freestyle.
Praise team.
Yeah.
They use the band is coming out.
Band.
Okay, band is coming. Yeah, worship team is coming out and lead the worship songs and then there's an announcement or offering.
once a month.
And then offering is the day after the sermon. Yeah. And then sermon is there, right? Pastor coming out and preaching the word of God, right? So one of the elders coming out and then praying for the with the congregation is called the representative prayer. And the last part is the pastor kind of a blessing, benediction, give the benediction to congregation and is dismissed, right? And
Korean people is went to church is different style. It's, Korean I went to church traditional style.
traditional church.
Short time, 1 hour worship. But it's freestyle is long time.
It's a little different. It's kind of blended, we call it blended worship, and then I don't know whether you had experience of traditional church? Traditional church in Korea.
No, in another state.
Yeah. In Korea, and then if you go to a really Presbyterian church, and it's really different though. My daughter, she was in school in Philadelphia, and then her friend, she was PK, pastor's daughter, and then her father was ministering in a church, and then she went to church with her friend, and then no clap. Every song is hymn. It's not no band, just organ, not piano, organ. And every time you sit and standing and sit and when you sing and stand up, and when you listen and then sit down like this. No instrument. That's like a traditional church. And there's followed their kind of worship styles, and sometimes there's the creed of apostles, they recite it together, and then it's a little bit different. So when I was Korea and I grew up, and usually this kind of styles. I grown up. It's a really countryside. It's a 전라도. It's a Yosu around there, and then there's no piano when I was really young. There is an organ. I don't know. You guys have seen the organ, and you paddled with the air and and we don't use a guitar because nobody plays a guitar very well to lead the songs. And I grew up there, and always, and there's a worship always there, and we call it jubo, and then always how start, and then all orders there, right? You follow the orders. And there's one of the worship styles that I had in Korea, and then during the college year, and I joined the Christian club, and it's called Joy, J-O-Y, and then we had a regular meeting once a week, and then we don't worship like that. Just a praise team coming out and pray and singing together, and then I was a leader, and then I preached, and we have opening time, and then we have announcement. After that, we went to the Korea restaurant to eat together. It's like 9 o'clock p.m. So there's a very simple worship style, and now I'm attending the American church. It's a neighborhood church in Cyprus, and this is the same as almost same as like a Christian club and college, and then worship pastors coming, they try to make a little bit variety of the worship, and then sometimes announce someone is coming out and start with the greetings and then announcement sometimes, and then worship leader coming and then just pray and welcoming and pray and start to sing, and then after that we had kind of greeting each other, usually we do, and greeting each other, and then kids are dismissed. And while we have praise God, and then praise time and children's and youth together, and then after the praise, and then they are dismissed and they go to their own service, and then we greeting each other. And sometimes the church gave us questions, sometimes not, and then after that, and pastor coming in and then preach about 30 to 40 minutes, and then before we have an announcement, and after that, after preaching, we have a response time. It means that just sitting or standing and then think about what we hear today, sermon, right? And then response time. After that, we have offerings, donate our money to church, and then after that, and kind of blessing. Sometimes it's not a formal blessing, so benedictions, but sometimes pastors pray for the people, sometimes just say something. That's the kind of worship. That's the worship. But if you go to Hispanic church, it's a little different experience. I got involved in mission a lot, and when I go down to Tijuana, so I've been with one church about 10 years. Once a month we go to the church for 10 years, almost 10 years, and then I know a lot of churches stop by, and once, twice, and 2 times a year, and 3 times a year, and they move on to other churches. But we've been with the church for 10 years, and then usually they come up and read the psalm, one of the psalm, read it together, and then they pray for the worship, and then praise team coming out and leading the praise. After that, pastors coming out and then preach. And openings depends on people are after, and the opening time is there, and then and they have a prayer time. That's it. But the church usually Sunday service, and we have 2 worships, a key service and another service, and then other services like sometimes 3 hours, 1 hour praise. They are really energetic. They dance and dance, and 1 hour, maybe 30 minutes, and sometimes really exhausted. Sometimes their singing is really out of tune, because maybe you cannot imagine, and then always they hit the wrong note, and then if you sing here and if you there, and then came out totally different song every time. So we don't know. And then, but still, they praise 1 hour, and they dancing and jumping and a little bit fun. And then 1 hour almost preaching, and then 1 hour is prayer. So they pray together, and pastor pray for kids, and they pray together. So almost 3 hours, and 2.5 hours and 3 hours. And little bit different styles. And then by denomination, we call it denomination, and Pentecost, and then Presbyterian, and Evangelical, and there's a lot of denominations. There Methodist, and then Baptist, like this. And worship style is a little bit different. And what about age group? By age group, young people is a little different. they don't wanna they wanna get the traditional stuff, right? They are get bored. People who have the traditional styles. And what about think about the cultural trend and young people and kind of like I'm old. I belong to older people, not the old people, like really old people, like 60, 70, 80, like people. It's different from me. And just think about when we're gonna go over the cultural trend and then how they change the worship style. And I already told you I grew up like yes, 70s, 80s in Korea, and then we have a totally different worship style. But nowadays, and whether they play good or not, and there's a band is there. The singers there and band is here and they play together, and sometimes down they are performing while they are worshiping. And yeah, it's really different. And I try to go visit the immigrant churches and Indonesian churches and Vietnamese churches and Hispanic churches, and I try to go whenever I have time, and then they have a different worship style. And so my church is an evangelical free church, and they're really free. As the word says, and really free. And then, but if you go to Indonesian church and other ethnic church, and it's really different. They prepare a lot for the worship. And usually, when I was in Korea, when you lead worship and you gotta see each comment. I write on each comment what I'm gonna say. Not improvisationally I say something, no. But if I go to like a Vietnamese church, I can see the little bit kind of special. And there's first generation and second generation they worship together. Little bit different. So, but they prepare very well. And then if you see the musical and the music, and then there is a different style of music, right? And once I went to the New York, and Tim Keller is a really great theologian and pastor for churches, but he passed away a couple months ago. And then Redeemer Church in New York, and I visited the church with my younger daughter, and then it was 5 o'clock service on Sunday, and it's a little bit traditional style, so worship hall is like a big. And it was first time we have to follow the order, but we don't know where they start and what they want to do. We don't know, but they know and follow the big books. At that day, they were communion, so another extra kind of board is attached, and they followed. That was really weird, but they are young people. But I don't think the young people don't like the style. But a lot of young people come to worship at 5 o'clock afternoon. But one thing is, there's no band, and there's a singer was there and piano is there. But music style is different. And they don't sing the words now contemporary songs, but they stick on the hymn, and then a little old, really old, and the gospel songs, but they play with the jazz style. It's different. It's really, kind of fresh. And so maybe if you go to conference, and like a big conference, and 10,000 and 20,000 get together, and then you can have a different worship experience. And last year I missed it, but every 3 years there's a big mission conference there, but they kind of formed as the worship team. They're very professionals, and other conferences go, and then they invite a very famous band, worship band, and they lead. And then why they're singing and jumping and dancing and so see that the rest of the stage is like a concert, right? Yeah. And blinkings and foggies and everything is there. Something, it's really amazing. But if you're there and then something, maybe you feel something, but after that, you're back to normal. It's a kind of worship. Yeah. So anyway, so we can experience a lot of different worship styles, right? But we cannot say that which is right and which is wrong. So if there is, the factors that we went over, right? And then it's a biblically ground and a little bit, in terms of theology, a little bit different because of the theology. It's like a denomination is kind of formed, and then because of church governance, and then kind of denominations, kind of different denominations formed. But usually, if you read the Old Testament, and then when they worship God, and then this is kind of elementals in the Bible. So usually we have this element when we have worship. So at that time, Old Testament, and they have animal sacrifice, right? Only, and then there's a 5 offerings, and you kill animals and then give burn, right, and give to God. There is a animal sacrifices there, but later on, and there's a sacrifice gone, and then they use different things, tithe and money, and bring here and buy some stuff, and they have feast, and they have feast instead of the animal, and they really celebrate. And twice a year, they should go to the temple and visit the temple, and they have a celebrate. There's a there's a Passover in one of the Pentateuch, Pentecost, and they have a visit, and they bring their own thing, and they go and celebrate. That is one of the worship there. So there is a lot of feast in Israel, and then they celebrate. Then a part of worship, and then where? In the beginning, there is no temple, and then they made an altar, and then they Abraham built the altar, and then worship God, burnt and sacrifice animals like that, and then but later on, it's what tabernacle is what God made kind of tabernacle in the wilderness, and then after that, and Solomon wants to build a temple, and then David cannot build a temple, and his son Solomon built a temple and gathered together and worship God, and they pray, and how they pray. That's Korean style. Pray like this. Usually Jewish pray like this. Yeah. Try to listen and then like this. If you see the New Testament, and Pharisees pray like this. And the sinners and tax collectors, they cannot like this and they like this, right? And that is a prayers. And then I don't know whether you guys in Israel, I went to the Israel, it's a part of a class, and then I went to the Western Wall. And people get together, do the wall is there, and people write their request and put in the gap between the rocks, and they pray, and the Israelites and pray 3 times per day, in the morning, afternoon, and evening, like 3 times. But Muslims, they pray 3 times, but they want to do better, more, and then they pray 5 times. Islam is a little different. And there's a songs there, and if you see the Psalms and or so they will play the harp, and then if it's something chorus and A sharp, and they part of the or leading the songs, and then dance is there, like David, and so we don't have a dance here. But if you go to some churches and someone see a dance, why they practice, but when I was in the Western world, and then group of people, like not a woman, some men, and then after praying, and they kind of make a circle, and then they dance, and then praising God. Interesting. But if you go to Messianic church, it's Jewish, but who believe in Jesus Christ. Usually Jewish don't believe in Jesus Christ, but if they believe in Jesus Christ and then come to and the church, and then they dance, and based on their traditions, right? So, but some churches are like if you go to really charismatic churches and then Pentecostal churches, like you can see them, but other than like usually I never seen someone coming out dance. Really, but that is so, and there's a basic element to see here, but later on the Christianity is kind of spread all over the world, and then what? The Gentiles cultures are coming in. And then there's a lot of compromise, and then they adopt their stuff. Just think about music. A lot of different style, and then they used it. That's other stuff. And that's what are the current issues in the Christian worship? What do you think? What is the problem in worships at church?
Praise time. Praise song. Praise time. I think about it. People the traditional style is silent. Very silent. And now is
So
is
expressive,
emotional, enjoy is focus.
Oh yeah, that's a big problem. So diabetes is a consumerism. We are talking about the consumerism, and then just think about who is a customer, and then church members are a customer, and then churches carry out, they run the business, how they need to treat the customer. And then they treat them well, and then it's like they wanna do something better, more, donate more like this, right? We say that that's a consumerism. So how can we make happy, not God but people? So that's why they create a lot of programs and to attract people, right? And sometimes, especially music is related, it's for the young generation.
It's many changing the worship style.
Yeah. There's a big issue is consumerism. So they don't involve actively at church, and then but still that's why a lot of people wanna go to big church. Our church is like that. We have this one and that one, but yeah, one of the issues is consumerism, based kind of a secularization from the outside, and then we got influenced, and then just think about pastor is kind of executive. It's a lead pastor. It's a lead pastor or a senior pastor, and it's a, their role is like executive in company. And so how can you make it satisfy, make the congregation satisfied in worship, right? Without no complaint and more people coming in, and they kind of have a successful ministry. Church is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. That is one of the issues. What about another issues? Have you heard about prosperity gospel? Prosperity gospel. In English is prosperity gospel, and then in Korean word is 기복신앙. And if you come to church, if you believe God, Jesus Christ, then you're gonna be blessed with material stuff, right? That's the prosperity gospel. But in America, is that it's the same thing, but they don't talk about Jesus Christ and how can you get peace, and how can you. They adopted a lot of psychological approach, and they don't talk about the faith. So one is really famous pastor, and when you hear his sermon, and there's no God and there's no Jesus Christ word. Sometimes it's sometimes what we already talk about, and the word of God suppose should be in the worship order, but they don't talk about His name. And always how can you deal with the stress? And like this, how can you be blessed by what? By doing something like this, and then a little different approach. But there is a kind of a deviate away from the true gospel, the word of God, and then trying to kind of soothe the people's heart, soothe the people's heart, and trying to treat the people's desire, what they want to hear. That's one of the big issues there. And one of the churches is already gone, and there was a Catholic church, part of the church. It's a Christian church here in Orange County, long time ago. It's a big church, and then they do really big Christmas event, and then but it's gone now. That is one of the example of prosperity gospel. And what about? And I think it's the same here in Korea. So church are really divided by politics. It's a conservative and liberal. And I don't know the Korea, and then a lot of young people who support different people and stay at church. It's a divided. Politics kind of influence on church and worship. And that's a big issue though. A lot of people kind of blame the Trump and American evangelical Christians, but what about if you really wanna have kind of I know their policy and the values are very different. And I can understand the evangelical Christian in America because the values there was a Republican values are close to the Christian values. So one of the things is homosexuality. The Republican is like trying to kind of so was abortion and trying not to do that, but whereas a Democratic is kind of open to everyone, right? It's not, but it's in terms of values, and then as a Christian values close to the Republicans' values. That's why a lot of American Christians are the Republicans, not just Trump, not just Trump. Yeah, it's the same, right? So we don't go, when you go to church, you don't talk about the politics. I'm supporting who? My daughter, younger daughter, she went to college and then her first election time for presidential election. So she was really excited, and then at the time Trump and Hillary. And her school is really liberal, and small school is really liberal. They raise a lot of social activists, and then she studied hard, compare and find politics and economies, and then she compared and she decided, oh, I want to support this one. But most people, they don't do that. They follow the media, right? After election, and then she got so traumatized, she got threatened by her friends because the point of view is different. It's really interesting. Even though they say we are really open, but they don't accept the difference. At school, college. It's really interesting, huh? At church too. And then political view may be different. Why? Because we try to see the world with the Bible, right? Biblical values, but some people have a different point of view, but it's not wrong. But also kind of Korean cultures, and if you don't have the same point of view, same perspective, and then wow, you're gonna be enemy. You are different from me, but they don't think that you against me, right? They assume that, oh, you against me. No, not against you, but I'm different from you. I have a different opinion, but they don't do that. They don't acknowledge the difference, because think about Korean cultures based on the groups. There's one of the issues there. Another one is that the event oriented. So, what is the event? Try to attract people, try to make people, right? And it's really event oriented, and then maybe, so now we spend a lot of energy on that one. Just think about one event the church are doing. So I don't know how effective, but we spend a lot of, and then after that, that's all. They don't have any follow-up. That's it. Like a summer mission trip. Once a month, try to, okay, mission is coming, and they advertise, kind of announce and kind of recruit the members, and then maybe short period, not long, and maybe four or 5 times they have a kind of meeting, and they went to mission trip. And then after that, and I learned something, and share testimony in front of people. That's it. After that, that's it. And next year, we don't talk about the missions. Right? And another is coming. Our revival meeting, and another year. This is coming. This will keep coming though. But this is really important. Event is kind of motivate people, let them involve in, right? Come to help them to kind of connect it, but without following up, and then the event itself become an event itself, and then there is no any effectiveness of ministry. So there is one of the problem, and another issues at churches is the morality. I already talked about there is no work ethic, right? What about? And pastors are human beings, right? There's a lot of sexual issues at churches, and money issues at churches, and power issues at churches, right? I don't deny that. Still, by church, we have different ethnic groups, and then we have to deal with. The pastor is kind of got involved in immoral stuff, and then the church found out and told him to stop it, but he kept doing it, and then he publicly came to the church and apologized for what he has done, and then church provided the counseling for him and for the family members. But in the beginning, it's 1 year, 2 years they were in the state of church, but after that they left church. That is a moral issue. So there's a lot of issues and problems that we have to deal, and just think about and how can we deal with these issues in worship. If we have genuine and true worship, that is kind of not increased, supposed to get decreased. And I don't know whether you guys, how you think about, and it's a big issue a long time ago, and then pastor, he's serving a pretty big church. He has had an affair with someone more than 10 years. Family member knows. How do you think about? His wife knows, but just covered it up. So what else? What else kind of issues going around the churches? Any observation? Problems? No. It's all about here.
This big church is people. The big church is many people is worship. It's pandemic after is small.
Mm-hmm.
Is don't need building is big is
Okay, that's a trend though. So nowadays, not building build the buildings for church ministry, and young generation is kind of turned back from the Christian faith, and so older generation is kind of is there already, and then but congregations, number of congregations decreasing now. And among the Korean churches, and then some churches are getting bigger, and then after getting to the plateau, and then church are going down. So people try to find a new insight from the church, and then maybe church pastors preaching is pretty insightful, and a lot of people move, and then they are used to it, and then nothing much different, and then they move to another church, and then kind of a parallel movement, church to church, and but there is not many the new Christians from the used to be non-believers and become a Christian. Not many people like that, and then a lot of people kind of disappointed because of the immorality issues and politics issues and churches, and they I don't want to go to church, and then they kind of away from the church. That's why people are getting away from the church, but they still believe. And I don't go to church, but I have online service, right? I can do it by myself at home. So losing the kind of the spirit of corporate worship on Sunday as a body, and we remember God and we honor God, and there's none anymore. Even though I don't do that, I believe God. I try to show my face with others. That's why people they don't like it, but still, if you see the online, and there's a worship. And it's a really big issue though. And I got an email from Biola and the board, and then they decided that they wanna kind of they don't have a department anymore. It's a department is gone now. Let it go. But they wanna keep the program, but there's no department like there's a theology department, and it's a psychology department, and bio department. Like there's a department, and bio is a intercultural study department still. And then school decided to close the department because not many people, students. So attendance is kind of getting decreased. Restoration is decrease, and nowadays they cannot run the program because not enough for students. So usually in some school close down the sociology department, and then some philosophy department. It's not kind of after graduation. It's not many people register for the class, and then they cannot run the department, right? And like that, and then we got to know the kind of trend, and then a lot of people people are giving less than before, and then that's why just expecting more donation, and then you expand the buildings and a lot of programs, but still, if you don't have enough resources, money, and other stuff, you cannot hold all things, right? You gotta cut. Right? Nowadays, the economy is not good, and what happened? They lay off the people, right? And Ford announced that they were not laying off engineers, and then I don't know how many people like this. And people are literally, and then maybe they are losing kind of their interest from church, in church, and maybe on church, and maybe sometimes they are really disappointed, whatever, and they don't come to church on Sundays. But if you go to, in America and Korea, it's already down road. And what about but if you go to America, Latin America, and then people, Christians going so different. Well, they are not rich countries, but a lot of people are struggling in life. So I don't know whether you guys believe or not. And then if you go, if you not go to China, it's driving, it's 2 hours, less than 2 hours, right? And do you know why people are really coming to America? You say you wanna be rich, right?
Yeah.
They want to be rich. And if you go down to China, do you know how much you make money per day? If you are just labor without any skills. And usually if you are the service kind of job, and then they made $5-6 per day. So if you are the kind of a field worker, and then kind of blue collars, and they made like $10 per day. And then maybe other countries are worse than this. But if you come to America, how much you can make per day? Nowadays, it's minimum pay is $12 and then maybe $15. And if you go to McDonald's, and then how much you make? 1 hour is what? $15. Less than minimum is $15. And then,
Currently they are like $18 to $19.
and then if you work, no, it's really easy to calculate. If you work 8 hours for $15, how much?
Almost 100.
Then they make $10 per day. Compare. That's why at the risk of their life, they wanna come and make money and send it back to their countries. And then parents live there, and then what? They buy the farms and land, and then later on they go back and they establish their life there. That's why long time ago, I don't know nowadays, and then if the people rent house, and then they like people who like coming from the countries, and then 4 or 5 families live together. Can you imagine that? They save money, and then usually they say one of my friends, he was manager at the market, and he manages at the market, right? And then he worked with a lot of people, yeah. And they said, oh yeah, I make money like that. And then they really live with a small amount of money. And they say, it's pretty much amazing. And just think about, and there's a lot of people are struggling, and what is our responsibility as a church? How can we do that? I know Christianity donate a lot compared with the other religions, but still, how much you can do, how long you can do, right? So just think about the current issues at Christian worships, and sometimes it's kind of even though it's not related to the Christian worship, but still what's going on in church. It's really related to the Christian worship. It's right, even though it's embedded, but still related to the worship. And from next week, we are today talk about the basic issues in worship, and then we are talk about what is the worship, and we talk about what are the churches and purpose of the churches, right? And then from the next week, we're gonna talk about a little bit more what is the worship. So what is the genuine worship, and then how can we prepare the genuine worship and lead the genuine worship, right? All right, so I think we're gonna finish it here, and then I'm really happy to see some of you guys in class, and if you are not here today, I strongly encourage you guys to come out and let's discuss and talk together next week. God bless you, and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.